Hello and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, a very warm welcome. Hi, this is the Bibliophile Doctorate, and on this channel I talk about books and everything bookish. So August is here, and as we know, August is celebrated as the month of celebrating women in translation. So there are so many beautiful writing, so many powerful writing literary pieces which are produced across world in different languages, and because thanks to translation we are able to read all of those beautiful works even if we can't speak or read the language. So I feel it's a very beautiful concept of having a month where particularly women authors who write in languages other than English, their works are celebrated, or women translators who put so much of hard work of bringing these pieces to us in translation, they are celebrated. So it's a beautiful concept, I feel like. So in that same line, I felt like I will bring to you certain pieces of work by women authors from India, and you can consider them as classic authors, and I feel that they should be talked about or get much more global limelight than they get. So I have four authors today. So these are obviously from India. They are works in translation, and they are also feminist fiction works. So I'll maybe make a part 2 of this, and because there are other authors as well who deserve as much attention as these authors, and these four works which I have for you as recommendation are very close to my heart. There are a few of the favorite pieces of work which I have. Some I have read in the original language, and some I have also read in translation. So let's, without further ado, let's dive into the recommendation. The first author I have as recommendation is none other than Moshada Devi, because she is one of my favorite authors, and if I am discussing about women in translation, and she is one of the powerful voice who needs to be discussed much more than she is currently. So she has been translated by a lot of people, but very popularly translated by Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak. Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak is one of the popular literary figure. Like, she is very well known for her literary piece of Can Subaltern Speak. So if you know her from there, she has famously translated a few of the works of Moshada Devi. So coming back to Moshada Devi, she is one of the very strong, very powerful authors who actually speak for the subaltern, a very feminist voice. So when it comes to Moshada Devi, I can't stop at one recommendation. So I have a few recommendation which is my own favorite. First recommendation is Pterodactyl, Puranchaha and Pritha. It is based on a tribal village. So Puran, who is a kind of a government officer, so he gets an assignment and he is sent to this tribal village which is kind of affected by drought-like situation. There's a lot of things that his tribal people are suffering, and he is sent to actually help these people out. So when he goes there, apart from seeing the problems his tribal people are facing, and somehow Moshada Devi's brilliance comes in between when she, through Puran, shows the difference between the world of our modern civilized concrete world and tribals world of close to nature. But he also witnesses a creature which is not supposed to exist in today's time, which is a pterodactyl. As you know, it's a dinosaur. It's a prehistoric creature. So this is how the story continues, of how Puran sees what is this pterodactyl doing here, how Puran interacts with this pterodactyl and the people of this Pritha village. So this is how the story continues. So another work of Moshada Devi, which is one of my favorite, is Rudali, and it's actually a popular work of her. So Rudali, the main character, and the most funny part is that when I was reading it, and I've read it in, again, this was another, I've read it in both Bangla and English, and very funnily, the main character is named Sonichari, and interestingly, when I was reading the translation, and her work Shonichari is very close to my own name. So when I was reading in translation, at the time I was actually misreading it as in my own name. So yes, so Rudali is Shonichari's story, and Shonichari is someone who actually is from a very low income family. She struggles with poverty, but the irony of her life is that she couldn't cry when her husband passed away or when she lost her child, but to survive she actually takes up the profession of a professional mourner. Like when people pass away, there are nobody to cry for them. These people are hired and paid to go and cry at their last rite, during their last rite. So very interestingly, she becomes a professional mourner. So this is where Moshita Devi brings out the irony in the story. Another story, it is part of this three story which is translated by Spivak, is Sonnodaini, and it is under this book called Breast Stories, and it become Breast Giver, which is Sonnodaini, then Draupadi, and there is another story. So Sonnodaini is about a wet nurse and how like once her value as a wet nurse kind of diminishes, how society treats her. Like here Moshita Devi brings in the irony of how we celebrate motherhood, but once like who is almost acting like a mother, like feeding the baby with her own body, and when that body kind of fails, how as society we treat her. So yeah, that was another, and so is Draupadi. So there are other, like there is Haja Churashima or Mother of 1084. So there are a lot of works of Moshita Devi, and all of the works are very powerful. Some are very feminist, some are centering around eco-feminism angle. So yes, you can pick up any of her work, and trust me, you would be bound to think in a very different way. You would see the world in a very different way, and that is the power of Moshita Devi. So I feel like she should be discussed more in the international fora, in the Bookstagram or BookTube environment, and more people should read, because already a translation is available. So my next recommendation is another Bengali writer, Ashapurna Devi. So for Ashapurna Devi, I have a series. So I did one of the Bookstagram series where I talked about the important feminist work written by these female authors. So this is one series which I recommended there as well. So it is following three generations, like grandma, mother, and daughter. So it starts with Pratham Pratishruti, which follows the journey of Shotabati. So it is brilliantly feminist, like how in a pre-independence era, Shotabati, how she fights with the society, how she questions. And then Pratham Pratishruti is popularly translated into the first promise. Then the story continues in the second part of the book, following Shotabati's daughter Shubhanalata, who is kind of tricked into marriage, though her mother was pretty much fighting a feminist battle within the family setup. Shubhanalata also is stuck with that similar kind of fate, I would say. She gets married and she loves reading. She craves for a balcony, or literally it is metaphorically saying she craves for that independence of an open world, and she's stuck within the four walls of the household of a life of a homemaker, and it is not a very independent or empowered life. Like she's actually struggling under patriarchy. So that becomes a second generation, and in third generation we meet Bokul. So she is born in on the brink of independence, like newly independent India, and she is somewhat what the struggle from Shotabati started, like through Shotabati, Shubhanalata, whatever these two women struggle through, Bokul actually gets the fruit. She is one of the women, like in modern day women, educated. She is someone who actually works, and she has a profession. But also when you have this independence, like when they struggle and you get ultimately get the fruit, the problem with Bokul's character, which Ashapurna Devi beautifully portrays, is her a little bit of detachment. She is kind of detached from the day to day struggle of women who are not as much privileged as her. So that's how this beautiful story continues, and how Ashapurna Devi beautifully pens how when Bokul's friend is in a problem, how she feels so much detached, like she's not able to understand the problem, but Yeah, that is the irony of the third generation, like how we become detached from the struggle, and how at times, like very ironically, in nowadays world, a lot of debate about whether feminism is necessary, what is this feminism comes in. So maybe not that much into extent, but yes, she has got the fruit of feminism, and somehow she's a bit detached. So all these three are very feminist texts that Ashapurna Devi has created. She has other works which some are very humorous, but I don't know if it's translated or not, so I didn't put it in this video. Maybe I'll research on it, and if some more of her works that I know have been translated, I'll definitely come up with it in the next part if I'm thinking. So yeah, that was my second recommendation for women in translation from India. The third author and the third book for the Women in Translation series is by Ishmat Chugtai. And Ishmat Chugtai is, a lot of you must have known, and she is popularly known for her work Lihaf or the Quilt. But today I am talking about another of works which has been translated by another woman translator, Tahira Naqvi. It is The Crooked Line or Teri Lakir. So like as I was talking about Bokul, so in this story we have Shaman, so girl who is growing around a lot of women, and it is a society which is living, the women are in parda. So Shaman is growing up, and when she reaches adulthood, it's the brink of India's independence, and somehow like when she grows up, she sees herself a bit different from the people, for particularly the women of her household. Like she is a person who is educated, who has her own profession. So this is where the same kind of contrast which is seen in between Bokul and Shubhanalata and Shotabuti, here Saman also sees the same kind of contrast between her and the women of her household who are still in parda, because she has become liberated, she has a work, she's educated. So this is one of the brilliant work, and it is somewhere I read, I'm not sure, but I read it is a bit of semi-autobiographical, like how you are told that a woman's life follows a straight line, that this are the things which are supposed to happen in this particular time, but the only way you know how to work is through a crooked line. Like you don't follow the straight line, you follow a way which is very different, like how Shaman's life follows. So yeah, that was my third recommendation as an author and also a piece in Women in Translation. The fourth piece of today, and I think this is the last author of today's video, it's Krishna Shukti. So previously I have read Mocha Devi in Bangla, and I have read Chuktai in Hindi script, and later I have read her work in English translation as well. But the next author whom I am going to talk about, I have read entirely in English. So this author, and she's a very powerful author, and I met her quite late in my life, like recently, I think last year I read her work which I read and I love, and this is what I have for you as a recommendation, is Sunflowers in the Dark. So it was originally written, I don't really, it's called Surajmukhi Andhere Ki, I think it in Hindi that is called. If I could get hold of the Hindi original writing, I would love to read that, but anyways I read it in English in translation. So this Sunflowers in the Dark, it is a very difficult read, in the sense it has a lot of sensitive topic. It is a very deep feminist angle, and also it talks about the complexities of the woman, of how experience can shape you as a person, on how you behave, your behavior, like how trauma can shape your present behavior and how you can get out of it. It also questions our morality, like at some point even I felt like, is this right? Because it questions our morality, or what is right and what is wrong. It kind of blurs it out. So this story follows Rati. So when she was very young, she was essayed as a child, and that kind of impacted her development, her growth, her mentality, because when she faced that situation, and it is something which we can understand as a child what impact it would have. And this story is written in 1972, so you can understand that it's not even in 2026 the victims actually struggle. So just think about a story being written in that age, and the character is like, if we see in the fiction world of that particular era, how she struggled. Like she of course didn't find environment which is very friendly to her, and as a victim she didn't find a very warm environment, and she struggled. And when she grew up, it actually impacted her behavior towards men. Her behavior was not at all healthy, though she became a very hyper independent woman. This is where Shopti brings up the independence of women, like how her hyper independence, like she didn't need anybody, is making the patriarchy uncomfortable. But at the same time, her attachment style with men is very unhealthy. That is also unhealthy, but at times you will also question like the kind of men she's meeting. Some of them are problematic as well. This is where maybe her behavior is kind of poking into this fragile patriarchal stances. So yes, she actually struggled with having a healthy proper relationship. Like she struggles of going into a relationship because that childhood trauma or memory is kind of haunting her life, until she meets Divakar. Now her relationship with Divakar actually made me question the morality of what is right and what is wrong, and to be honest, I have been left without an answer. So yes, so that is the Sunflowers in the Dark, and there are other works of Krishna Shopti I haven't read. I think I will read her more because she's a very powerful author. So yeah, that was my fourth recommendation of Women in Translation from India. All for today, and thank you for listening for so long. And definitely let me know what you thought about today's video. And if you have liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe, because I'll be coming up with more of such videos in future, and with a part 2 of the Women in Translation, and maybe even a Women in Translation in other languages which I have read in translation, maybe a part 3 as well. So yeah, that was all, and thank you for listening for such a long time, and I'll see you next time.